Hey, what is up, everybody? It is Uncle Mad here. We are live Saturday afternoon doing a quick breakdown preview of tonight's matchup between Nashville SC and CF Montreal. That was my best little French Canadian accent that we rolled off there. The boys from the Great White North will come down south to take on the boys in gold at Geodis Park this evening, 7:30 local kickoff time for us here in Nashville. I will be there in attendance as always for home matches. Well, I say for always. I definitely miss some matches. There's definitely some matches that I'm going to miss coming up, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I will be there live tonight at Geodis Park to document the events and activities and actions that happen in said match. I will be joined by my beautiful wife, Jesta. We delayed this live stream just by a little bit because I had to take her out to get some burgers. More on that will be coming out in the game day vlog that comes out tomorrow. I've already recorded a bunch for that just to start the day off here. But we're here. We're back home. We're in the studio, which is just a room in my house, to talk a little bit Nashville SC, talk a little bit about the Montreal matchup and what else is coming up and what else has happened recently with the boys in gold. I guess a good place to start, kind of jump back in time. Last week, big result for Nashville SC, 3-1 victory not in Philadelphia, but against a team that's called the Philadelphia, what is it, Chester, Pennsylvania is where they actually play their matches. I mean, it's one of those weird little quirk things that happen in sports where people like to tease a team if they don't actually play in the city they claim they're playing in, but who cares? Good result for Nashville SC. I had it, as a 2-2 draw was kind of my prediction. I thought we'd keep kind of the momentum going coming off of Portland, but I thought that Philadelphia was going to have a little bit more. And they did. They were pretty good attacking going forward. They had some chances, had the penalty shout, double save by Joe. Another penalty shout that could have come, but they had a few other chances as well. But just Joe turned back the hands of time, had one of his best games in years. Walker continues to have a resurgence this season. Seems like he's fit, he's firing, he's playing his best football so far. And the guys we needed to score scored. And I kind of called it, somebody asked in the chat in the last one, who would you pick first goal scorer? And I said Sam Surridge. It just, I had no real tactical or, smart reason to say that, but I just was like, it's time. He's been knocking on the door. He's been feeling like he's getting active. He's been feeling like he was finding his way into the right end of things. And sure enough, he just carved up not the goal you really expect from Sam Surridge, but it shows like why he was a bunch of crap just fell over off to the side over there. Shows why he was a guy who was playing in the championship, was on a Premier League team. He is a higher level and he's starting to feel that confidence. He's starting to feel that rhythm. I think the way we're playing favors him very well. He just dribbled right through Philadelphia's defense, like made a couple guys look really stupid. There's a very funny screen cap from Surridge's goal where like you look at it and there's like 2 or 3 Nashville SC players who are kind of like wide open in the area. Like if he'd wanted to cross it, if he'd wanted to pass it, probably could have had a tap in for about 3 or 4 other players, but want him to finish that goal, want him to hit that, want him to have the confidence, want him to have the energy to go and strike that ball and score that goal. And he did. He got us off on the right foot very early on in that match. And we kind of kept the momentum rolling. Ahmad Kassam, another goal for him. He is looking like a diamond in the rough, like a brilliant signing so far by Mike Jacobs. Hani Mukhtar nailed the penalty. No after effects from the missed one the week before against Portland. Paneka even, like just having the extra confidence to go and take on a goal like that. So the boys in gold looked like like I said, the confidence. That's maybe the most encouraging thing to see out of Nashville SC in that match so far was just, the way they played with confidence. They weren't, timid. They weren't on their heels. They weren't afraid. They weren't playing, to not lose. They were going for it. They were all on the front for it. They were going for it. Defense held up well to protect us in the back while Philadelphia had some good attacks. And man, that was a really good result. I've listened to a ton of podcasts. I've read a bunch of articles about the match, and the kind of thing that everybody keeps coming back to is there's not been a whole lot of matches for that like that in Nashville SC's history where they really went to a, good, competent opponent on the road and kind of took it to him, kind of hit him right in the face. When they I heard a lot of people bring up, and I remember this one very specifically, it was when we played Atlanta United. I believe it was 2022 or 2021. It wasn't the highest of Atlanta United teams, but it was still, they were one of the better teams in the league at that point in time. And we were kind of, it was in there. I think it might have been Hani's MVP season, but it kind of was like early on before like he was really clicking and really firing. And I remember I was at Universal Studios. I was at Universal Studios Hollywood. I was at the Irish little pub that's right across the street from like where they usually put the tribute store, the old Ghostbusters Firehouse. I'm blanking on it. I'm embarrassed. I can't remember what the little Irish pub was called there, but I was in there with some friends. They're drinkers. I'm not. I was not drinking. Obviously, I don't drink. I'm not a drinker. You know that if you watch the channel at all. But it was watching Nashville C in that match. I think it was the game where like Atlanta was the one wearing like the alternate, like the plastic Save the Ocean kit type thing, if I recall correctly. But we went out, kind of smacked Atlanta. That's one of the few times just off the top of your head where you can really remember us, beating a really kind of competent opponent on the road. Philadelphia, we talked about it with New York Red Bull earlier this season, teams that have kind of had Nashville's number throughout their history here in MLS, to get a result like that. I mean, a lot of people are kind of coming back and saying, well, maybe Philly's more in line with what they thought they were going to be, kind of a bottom of the table, mid-low tier table in the East. Maybe that hot start was a little bit of Schadenfreude. Maybe it was a little bit fraudulent. But I don't know. I thought Philadelphia still looked good. They had their chances. We just were able to keep them out. We were able to finish ours, and they weren't able to finish theirs. Great result, but we do have to pump the brakes a little bit as Nashville SC fans, I think, and just say, hey, we're 4 games into the season. It's tied for the best start in Nashville SC's MLS history. Have a chance today against Montreal to, with a tie or win, officially make it the best start in Nashville SC history. But we got to pump the brakes. It's early days. Some things that are happening right now probably aren't going to just, keep going, keep happening the way they have been happening so far. Ahmad Kassam, as brilliant as he's looked, he's not just going to score a goal in every single match. He's not going to finish the season with whatever it is, 38 goals. He's going to have games where he's not as involved, he's not as active. We have to pump the brakes and prepare ourselves for that. We have to honestly say, hey, it's great. These things are happening. It's great. We've had these positive, bright signs, but there's going to be times where it's a little bit quieter, a little bit slower. But today, jumping ahead, back to the future, back to the present, back to the timeline that we're in right now, we take on CF Montreal, Club de Foot Montreal, Montreal Impact, whatever name. What was their other name? They're one of the peak teams. When I talk about like how MLS has had like such a weird history, a weird, inability to get a foothold in soccer, they're like probably one of the teams I would put like at the very top because they've rebranded like 6 times in their short history. They've had like world-class coaches, world-class players, and they just kind of let them go. They kind of phase them out. They don't seem to really care that much. I mean, they had Wilfred Nancy, who most people think right now is probably the best coach in MLS. He's kind of the template. He's kind of the one everybody else is trying to, follow suit from. And they just kind of let him walk to Columbus, which is crazy. I mean, you don't see that happen in many professional sports leagues where, a team has one of the best coaches they could possibly have and just feels the need to let him go. They had Thierry Henry back in the day. And I'll tell you this, for the preview for this match, I'm going to be just no information when it comes to Montreal other than their record and their performances so far, because I can't name you a single player on their team. If you look at like the thumbnail for this video, I put Victor Wembanyama on it. I thought he still played for Montreal. I thought like, oh, the former Spurs guy, the former, I think he's a Nigerian international. I thought he was still there. He's not. He's gone. Joseph Martinez, who was there last season, not there anymore. Couldn't name you a single player under my name. I was actually reading through some of 615soccer.com's preview information of the match, and I was like just seeing names being like, who are these people? Who are these people? As Jerry Seinfeld would say. And I was like, I don't know any of these guys. But that to me just makes it seem like an even more dangerous game for Nashville SC. Like, we cannot be overconfident. We cannot just like be right on the high that we're on right now. We cannot just be looking at what Montreal's done so far and their maybe lack of star power and just like coast, because as good as things have looked so far this season, we're definitely not to the point where we can be a team that just coasts through matches and just collects 3 points easily. We have to go out and do the work. So like, this is almost like a borderline trap game in my mind, where it's like, we got to get this win here, but there may be potential to look ahead. Like, you don't want to call anything a must win this early on in the season when you've got so much left to play. But I mean, if you look at our next 4 matches, I think we've got Montreal today, who winless on the season, 3 losses, 1 draw, only scored 1 goal so far this season, I believe. At home, they're in the middle of like a 7-game road trip because they're in a weird spot where like They usually play their early season games in like an indoor stadium, but that stadium is under renovation right now, so they don't have anywhere to play games because it'd be too cold apparently to play in Montreal. But apparently their fan base is upset about that because there's all other cold weather teams that are getting home games and stuff like that. It's a weird situation. I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but it's like flashback to like what was it? 2018, 2022. What? 2018, 2022. This is the match day poster from the very first match at Geodis Park, and it was on May 1st, 2022. So Nashville SC, we've been there. We've had that stretch. We had to play the entire first stretch of a season on the road because the finishing touches were being put on Geodis Park. And that's what Montreal's going through right now. I don't think their actual, like the indoor stadium is going to be ready until 2026, but once the climate shifts, once we get into the summer months, they have a different stadium that they'll play in for their outdoor matches, their actual home stadium. What a weird deal that is to have two different home stadiums, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. Anyway, they're in a spot where, like, realistically, if Nashville SC wants to be what they think they are, if they want to be a good team, if they want to really be knocking on the door of getting back to the top half of the Eastern Conference, this is a must-win. You can't lose the game to a floundering team like Montreal at home when you have all the momentum, when you have all the energy, especially looking at what's coming up. Because after this, it gets pretty tough. The next 4 games, FC Cincinnati comes here next Saturday. The week after that, we go to Charlotte, who looks pretty good this season. Wilfred Zaha is doing some things over there. Following week, I believe it's Real Salt Lake comes here to Geodis Park. So a lot of home games. I think like 7 out of the next 10 games are at home. A great stretch for Nashville SC to really continue this hot start, but tough teams. And then after that, I think we go to Seattle. So 4 straight really tough games, 2 at home, 2 on the road, and then Chicago, and we get back to like their cupcakes. Nobody's a cupcake, really. Unless I shouldn't say that. Chicago's going to come in here and beat us. It won't be like the old days where Connie McTarr just gets a hat trick out of nowhere against Chicago. But that game, that's what I'm saying. This game today, you never want to call a game this early in the season a must-win. But when you look at what's coming up, when you look at where Nashville SC is right now, when you look at where Montreal is, you kind of need 3 points today. This is where you really kind of keep the momentum going, keep the confidence up, keep the roll going, really kind of build yourself up to roll into this next little tough stretch of games. Firmly, for the first time, really, like, because we've never been fully dominant at Geodis Park. Like, the seasons we had at Nissan Stadium, it was weird. I don't know if it's because, like, the dimensions were, like, tougher. It was weirder playing in a football stadium. I don't know why. We were pretty dominant as a home team when we were playing our games at Nissan Stadium. But since Geodis Park, we've been up, down, in the middle, bad. We haven't really firmly established the castle, hell on the hill, whatever you want to call it, as that dominant home ground where we can just control teams, win matches, have that full home field advantage. And this is a great opportunity to do that because we beat Portland pretty comfortably here last week. You know, the New England game, still figuring some things out. Had 2 young midfielders in who probably aren't going to, you know, play too many matches over the course of the season. So you can kind of chuck some things up there, but say this is a good one. This is where we're almost at full strength. We do have some people missing for international duty and a few injuries still lingering, but this is a chance against a Montreal team like this that's, you know, bad. I think they're probably one of the few teams that we have like a really lopsided record against. So I think we beat them. We have got like 5 wins, 3 draws, and only 1 loss to them. So this is a really good chance to really firm up this early stretch of the season, really kind of keep the momentum going, keep it in a good range for Nashville SC. Speaking of, like I said, we do have a few players missing through international duty. Probably the most significant one, Andy Nahar, our new right back that we brought in this season, who's been borderline player of the season so far, just a revolution at that position. He's on international duty with Honduran national team, I believe, if I'm not mistaken there. So he won't be available for this game. Julian Gaines, who maybe a lot of people have looked at as kind of the right back of the future, young player. He's been injured throughout the preseason and regular season so far. I think he played about 60 minutes in a match for Huntsville last week, so he's working his way back to fitness. Don't know that he gets thrown right into the fire there. We've got Josh Bauer, kind of utility man, who's played a little bit of center back, a little bit of right back, a little bit of both for us, who could come in. And I don't know, BJ's, you know, been more of a throw caution to the wind type of manager than we saw under Gary Smith. Gary Smith, I would have just put $100,000 down that Josh Bowers could start at right back, or that, like, you know, some other crazy heavy defensive thing was going to happen. But, you know, we could see BJ Callahan throw Julian Gaines out there, get another young player in the mix, get him out there on the pitch. I haven't seen anybody say this, but like I know Eddie Taxeth played a little left back um, for the team he came from in Norway. I don't know if he's left footed or right footed. Could he play right back? Could he slide back to right back? Because we're going to have some more depth coming in midfield with Gaston Brugman now having a few minutes under his belt last week, maybe getting closer, ready to start a match. So that could be an option. I don't know. Alex Moyle, he's played a little bit of right back over the years, so you could slide him back, maybe put Tagseth on the wing again, Brugman and Yazbak as your center mids there. We've got some option there. So, but it'll be interesting to see how BJ approaches that because that's probably the most significant absence we have is Andy Nahar, who's been brilliant to start the season. He's out. Jacob Schaffelberg kind of just got back into the mix. I think he got his first minutes last week after being injured most of the season so far. He's away with the Canadian national team, so won't see any of him today. Matthew Cochran, the young U.S. international who started the first two matches, he's with the U.S. under-20 national team right now, so he won't be available, but he would most likely have been a bench piece, reserve sub option on the bench there, so not somebody going directly out of the starting lineup. Our third string goalkeeper, I don't know his name, Valdez, I think is what his name is. He's with the Dominican Republic national team. So, there's some players missing. There's some people gone right now. But outside of Andy Nahar, there's only one real locked-in starter that you'd say we're missing right now. So it'll be interesting to see how BJ Callahan, the manager, approaches that position, what he does with that spot. Like I said, maybe I'm just Gary Brain from years of Gary Ball. I'm expecting Josh Bauer, but he could get creative. He could do something a little different, a little wonky there. But I mean, I'm pretty confident, with what we've had going with Mokhtar's confidence, with Sam looking like the player we wanted him to be when we signed him, with Ahmad Kassam, what he's been doing. I think we can probably get a little crazy with the lineup. If we have to go Julian Gaines, throw some caution to the wind, throw a young lad out there, I think it could work out pretty good for us today. I feel pretty confident in what Nashville SC is going to be able to do today. Joseph in the chat says offense had some good momentum going into a very winnable match. 5 goals in the last 2 games while generating 3 penalties. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing we got to say for this. Like, I think that's the concern is we got to keep that momentum going. We have to keep that energy up. We have to keep firing. We have to keep rolling. We have to keep that momentum building into the matches that we have coming up. We can't kind of like look ahead of this match and say, oh, it's Montreal. They're not very good right now. They can't, overlook this match. They have to treat it like any other match and really come out and fire because, I mean, it feels like a game where, like, it kind of felt that way against Portland. We missed 2 penalties, but this, just on paper, that feels like a game where we could really, if everything clicks, if everything goes well, Nashville SC could really maybe unload on this team. I've seen, all kinds of preview score lines. I will probably, we'll go ahead and throw it out there. My official score prediction, I'll go 3-1 Nashville SC. I think we'll have a lot of chances, but I think we're still kind of not to the point where we're just going to blister a team. Like I think that's a growing process. I think that's something we're still getting to. I think we'll have tons of chances. I think it'll be one of those games where post match we'll be saying like this could have easily been like 5-6-0 and it ends 3-1 where we were dominant, but they sneak one in somehow. I don't even know because I don't know a single player on their team's name, but somebody will sneak one in. I know from some of the stuff I read on like 615 Soccer, maybe one of their better players, one of their starting center backs is away with Canada, which is going to make them even weaker than they already have been. So I don't know. 3-1 Nashville SC is probably my official prediction for this match just because I think we'll pepper them a lot. I think we'll put a lot of pressure on them. I think we'll create a lot of chances, but I think we're still kind of knocking on the door of being like a really fully explosive team that can really kind of annihilate a lesser opponent. And I do think we'll still, kind of maybe have like a weird wonky moment where like they sneak in a goal somehow. Like the goal Philadelphia scored last year was just like, I mean, that was like a unbelievable, just, golazo, just Joe makes the initial save, falls right to their dude who just rips it, cranks it up or 90. Nothing you can do about that. I could see something like that happening today where like a weird bounce goes their way and they steal a goal, sneak one in somehow. Lama Vomit, he's got 2-0 NSC. Joe keeps the home shutout streak alive. Yeah, that's the one thing. Is like I could totally see us, believing that we can keep the shutout streak going just because Joe has been brilliant this season. He's looked like, the Joe of 2018, 2019, 2020. Am I going too far back in time? Am I going to USL days when Joe Willis wasn't here? Yeah, I think I am. Yeah, 2020, 2020, 21, 22-ish Joe Willis. I think we've seen some of that. Like I said, Walker's been brilliant this season. The defense, they've been on more of an island. They haven't had as much, help from like the team dropping back and sitting in a low block that we typically see with the old days of Nashville SC. But they, for the most part, held up. Like I said, it was like a kind of wonder goal, that Philadelphia scored. You go back to the New York game, the Emil Forsberg goal was just like an insane upper 90 rocket. So it's taking pretty special goals to break down this Nashville SC team so far this season. So, totally would agree. There is a good chance that Joe keeps going. Joe keeps the shutout streak alive. But I'm just still being a little pessimistic on things because that was one of my concerns going into the season was with our older defense, with our older goalkeeper, with the more open way of attacking play that we're going to implement this season. I think we're still going to give teams chances more so than we've seen in the past. And also with Andy Najar being out this week, that's one less of our, really key players in that back four that's not going to be there this week. So, how does that affect things going forward? So I can see, I think it's good. I think if Nashville SC plays to their best, it should be a very comfortable result, very comfortable 3 points for us. But I definitely can see like a weird wonky goal being snuck in somehow by Montreal at some point in time there. So yeah, 3-1 is what I would go with, but 2-0, as Slobman Vomit said, I could also see that as well. I'm excited for this match. I'm going to be in club sections again. We're going to go over to the WeHo Club today. I got lucky, a former coworker of mine, now just a friend, had some tickets he couldn't use for the club section. Was like, hey, would you and your old lady? I'm trying to think of a way that doesn't make that sound terrible. Would Jessa and you like to go to the match together? And Jess was like, club section? Heck yeah, count me in. That's the way we can always guarantee I can get Jessa to go to matches if we have seats in club section. So we'll be in the WeHo Club tonight. We'll get another fun experience with like the full all-inclusive food and beverage over there, and hopefully get to see a good match from Nashville SC as well. Obviously, the big, maybe attraction of this match beyond just what's going to happen on the pitch is it's the Hani Mukhtar bobblehead tonight. It's the second bobblehead the team's ever released. The previous one was the Walker Zimmerman bobblehead, which I've got it over there. I'm not going to bother and get it. But I do have the Delaney Walker bobblehead sitting here on my desk with me that the Titans sent out to season ticket members. And this is, I do have a little bit of a gripe with the entire bobblehead deal. And I feel like it's the same way I felt like back when the Walker one came out, where it's like, this should not be like the way they've advertised it, I believe, is first 10,000 fans in the gates of Geos Park tonight get the Hani Mukhtar bobblehead. But also, I'm a first string member, which I believe is anybody who had season tickets from the USL days or maybe before even on into MLS, or anybody that had MLS season tickets the first MLS season is first string. We are supposedly guaranteed whatever the giveaway is each match. But the way it works is it's not like we can just show up at any point in the match, show up at any time and go, hey, I'm first string member. I'm guaranteed my bobblehead. Give me my bobblehead. The way it works is they open one of the gates early for first string members only, 5:30. Gates normally open at 6. So there's a special gate. I think it's gate A opens at 5:30 for first string members. You can come in there. There's an additional QR code loaded into your account manager app where you can scan that, collect your Hani Mukhtar bobblehead, and then you're in the stadium 30 minutes earlier than anybody else. If you don't get there that early, if you're not there by 5:30, there's still a special gate a special line at gate A where from 6 to 6:30, you can still scan your special barcode, still get guaranteed your Hani Mukhtar bobblehead. If you get there past 6:30, that all goes away, and it's just a free-for-all. You're basically hoping that you can get one the same way anybody else who's going to the matches. So it's guaranteed, but it's only guaranteed if you get there an hour before kickoff, or in the case if you show up at 5:30, 2 hours before kickoff. So not the best guarantee. It'll be good for us. I'm glad we got the club section tickets tonight because we'll be able to go in 5:30, get the Hani bobblehead, kind of move over to club section when it opens up at 6 o'clock and get kind of first dibs of the food and beverage and stuff that's available over there. So that'll be working out. But if it was like a regular game where I was in my regular seats and I had to go in at 5:30 to make sure I got this bobblehead, and then I'm just sitting in Geos Park for 2 hours waiting for the match to start. Some people like to do that stuff. Some people like to just be in the stadium, be there, be already in there. But you're in the regular section where you don't have the all-inclusive food and beverage and you got to go buy a hamburger, buy a soda or something like that to help you pass the 2 hours. It's a little pricey there. So I'm glad we have the club section. That'll make it a little bit easier, but I think the whole thing is kind of stupid. Like the Titans, there's way more Titan season ticket members than there are Nashville SC season ticket members. And the Titans just send season ticket members a bobblehead every year. We just get this in the mail. Like, why can't we just get the Hani Mukhtar bobblehead in the mail? Or why can't they just have enough to make sure we get them? Because, like, the guarantee is like, okay, so the advertised deal is first 10,000 fans in attendance get the bobblehead. But there's also the advertisement to the first string members, you're guaranteed to get one. I gotta think, I know they've probably lost some season ticket members here and there over the last couple of years where the team hasn't been as good, but I gotta think there's close to 10,000 first string members. Cause like, I've had season tickets since I think 2017, 2018, whatever the first season they were in USL was over at First Horizon Park, the Sound Stadium, kept them all the way through to MLS. I kind of feel like there's still close to 10,000 of people that would be in that category that had those first MLS season tickets that would be first string members. So if there's 10,000 people that are guaranteed to be able to get the bobblehead, and all 10,000 of them show up in time to get it from like the advanced collection time that we have available to us? And like when the regular gates open, are people who bought tickets to this match? Like my buddy texted me the other day. He's like, hey, he lives all the way down in Christiana, Tennessee. He was like, I'm considering driving up for that Hani Mukhtar bobblehead. And I'm like, it's going to be cool. It's going to be great. You're going to be super sour if you drive all the way up here and you don't get that. And I can imagine how many people are probably in that ballpark where like they could be, coming. My guy Wormy, he's got a great YouTube channel where he's doing stuff. I'm sure he's going to have a game day vlog from today. I think he comes all the way down from Knoxville for these matches. If he came down all the way from Knoxville and didn't get here in time to get a, Hani bobblehead, I can imagine he'd be pretty ticked off. And I can imagine a lot of other fans probably would be too. So I think there's probably more than 10,000 available. Like this is a great example right here. This is the Barbie bandana they gave away at the Barbie match, the last home match. Same deal. They said first 10,000 get this. And also they had the same deal where like, first string members, you show up at 5:30 to 6 or 6 to 6:30, you're guaranteed to get yours. Everybody in the stadium had this last week, like staff, fans, players. There was no shortage of these. Now, granted, this dumb little pink bandana is probably like a lot easier to mass produce than a bobblehead. I'd be shocked if it was just 10,000 bobbleheads that are going to be given out tonight. I'd be shocked. I don't have any inside information or anything really reason other than just kind of deductive reasoning going through the process in my brain to think that, but I don't know. But you'll find out, if you watch the game day vlog that'll likely come out tomorrow. Did I get my Hani Mukhtar bobblehead? What did it look like? Did I get multiple Hani Mukhtar bobbleheads? Because Jess is coming. Is she going to get one? Time will tell. How's the food going to be in club tonight? Wasn't that great last time? Will it be better today? Time will tell. I think we actually, I just have a memory brain thing just came up. One of the last times we played Montreal, I was in club for that, and we had a poutine bar in the club section because we were playing Montreal. I ain't going to hate it if we got a poutine bar tonight. Stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. Turn the bell on for notifications so you get to see the full game day vlog and find out, do I get the bobblehead? Do I get a poutine bar? Does Nashville SC get what should be a comfortable win against a seemingly inferior opponent? A lot of things to find out. You can probably find out if we won the match or not without watching my vlogs. To be honest, you can just watch the actual game or watch the highlights or something like that. It's a good example here. Llama Vomit said he's driving up from Huntsville. So yeah, I'd be mad if I didn't get one. Yeah. I mean, it's like, for me, I live, 20 minutes from the stadium. Like I said, I got the first string deal. I'm planning to get there at 5:30 to make sure I get it. But I mean, there's definitely people who are going to have to, be making a special effort to try and get here for that item if it is as limited as they say it is. So, Llama Vomit, best of luck to you. Like I said, the Walker one, like I was kind of frustrated, annoyed that we had to get super early there to get that one. But it kind of felt like everybody got it. Like, I don't remember there being like a big, like, I'm sure there was some people like, I don't want to like act like it was like a perfect situation, but I feel like that one kind of went pretty good. I think everybody kind of got the Walker one that they wanted. So hopefully that happens with the Hani one. Hopefully they just say the number 10,000 is like kind of like almost like a trap, like a trick, like get there early. Because I'm sure they want everybody in the stadium as early as possible. Because the earlier in the stadium, the earlier you're spending your money on stuff for Nashville SC. So I'm sure they want you in that stadium as soon as possible. I do think there will be more than 10,000 bobbleheads. Just deductive reasoning, just an idea, just a thing I have in my brain. I don't know. We'll see. I'll wrap it up there just because, like I said, I don't have a whole lot of insight on Montreal beyond the fact that they're not very good and it should be a team that Nashville SC should beat. we'll see what happens with the match. We'll see what happens with the bobblehead. It'll all be covered here on the channel. Appreciate everybody who watched. Appreciate the couple guys that were jumping in and had some comments in the chat here. It's always fun to jump on and do this, to talk a little footy, talk a little Nashville SC on a match day. Should be a good night out of the park. Weather's pretty good. Might get a little chilly as we get the sun goes down, stuff like that. But we're getting into a good season for Nashville SC. So hopefully the momentum goes on. Hopefully the results keep going our way. Should be a fun night at Geos Park. We'll be there. If you see me, say hey. I'm going to try to, always, greet the fans, the fellow supporters of the team. Love seeing everybody out there. I'm one of the people, even though I do these stupid videos. Like it always weirds me out when people are like, oh, hey, Uncle Matt, hey, Uncle Matt. I'm not used to being recognized. I'm just like, I'm just doing this for fun. I like going to the match. I like watching the team. I do the videos just to have fun. So, but if you see me, say hey. We'll talk. We'll chat. Hopefully, I'll be a little. Sometimes I'm not the best at presenting myself. I'm like, oh, hey. I keep walking because I'm just like not used to getting people to say hey to me there. But I'd love to chat more. I'm going to try to do a better job of that moving forward as I show up to these matches. So we'll see you at Geos Park tonight if you're there. Otherwise, if you're watching on TV, look for me on the screen. Maybe I'll pop up. I doubt it. Come on, you boys in gold. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your bagels. We'll see you.